Hey everybody, it's Jack from Atlantis Water Gardens. Welcome back to Frisco, Texas. This is the reveal of this incredible water feature. I gotta call it a water feature because there's so many things going on here. We've got about a 30 by 80 foot pond. We've got a big waterfall, which is what you see behind me. Constructed wetland filter, 140 feet of stream, crossings, bridges, fountainscapes, lights, the whole works. This was really a privilege to be able to do a project like this, and this is the culmination of 20 plus years to get here, and to be able to do this with the team that we had between Brian Helfrich, Alan Decker, Ralph Bezad, my son Anthony, Billy Harmon, Eric from Stonebridge, Jay Duke. I hope I'm not missing anybody, but today I'm going to walk you through this. We're going to see how everything turned out, and then we're going to meet Matt. This all started over a year ago. Brian Helfrich and myself came out here for a consultation with Matt, and he pretty much gave us carte blanche to design whatever we wanted, which is kind of scary sometimes because between the two of us, we have a ton of ideas. Problem is, those ideas become very, very high dollar in a hurry. But we had a great conversation with Matt, and we came up with a plan, and it started with putting the pond next to what is now, I don't even know what to call it. This was a barn, but now it's being converted into like the ultimate office escape area. Just vacation on your own property, basically, is what I think I would call this. Now, that waterfall was actually the first focal point. We looked at where Matt's office is, which is actually the first set of windows directly to the right of the front door, which is where he spends most of his time. And we're like, okay, so if you're gonna be in your office, you have to be able to look out and see something inspiring that draws you out to the yard. But as difficult as that was, the waterfall looks pretty simplistic. Like, we've got a nice cascade coming out of the wetland, then it bounces off a few rocks before it goes into that pooling area, and then flows downstream with another drop into the pond. Simplistic, but awesome. I don't know how we could have built a more natural looking set of falls. When Brian and I got together on this, we started with that first rock. It was just like firing on all cylinders, bang, bang, bang. We started getting rocks, and it went together fairly quickly because of the rocks. Matt actually picked out 350 tons of Texas sandstone. This stuff has so much character. It's got lichen and moss on it. I love the brown color. It's got a lot of cragginess to it, so there's a ton of character in these boulders, which makes things so much easier for us. I know I've said this before, but the type of rock you choose to build your water feature is going to set off the entire project. It's going to be what the end result is. So if you're working with a really nice stone and you know how to place it, you're going to end up with just an epic project. We've got a custom intake-based skimmer pulling all the debris to one location for removal. This thing has 5 SLD 5 to 9,000 pumps. We're pulling upwards of 40,000 gallons an hour through that deep stream area, which is about 18 inches, and then it jumps up to about 10 inches, and that's where we create that skimming action. When we can bring that rock work up and force the water to come over maybe 8 or 10 inches of the pond area, it really starts to draw suction from the top area, and then you're pulling all that debris to one location. Of course, we've got jets and the waterfalls pushing everything towards that spot, so it can be one big collection point. The fish love going in there. It creates a current, and you'll see them parked in the intake, just kind of swimming against the current. They absolutely love it. We tied in some more block wall over there, just to give us a little bit more of a spreading the theme throughout the pond. We've got the block wall that holds up this patio. We planted a bunch of potato vine and creeping Jenny over there. That's gonna take over that wall, and essentially it's gonna look like a living wall when it's all said and done. Matt completed the berm up top by bringing in gigantic trees. He moved the 2 big magnolias from in front of the house up top there. Then he brought in a big pistachio tree with Fannin Tree Farms, and those are all statement pieces which were necessary to give this all context. So the pond was phase 1, which was incredible all by itself. We built this in 12 working days. And again, it's a testament to the team coming together with all those extremely talented people to put this in motion and get it done in 12 days was Herculean. Phase 2, that was the entire stream system. So we had to build about 140 feet of stream. There were 2 large fountainscapes involved. There was all kinds of crossings and all the ancillary plumbing and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. Another 12 days. So 24 working days to build this entire water feature, I think is incredible. Thinking about laying this out, Brian and I were talking, we're like, okay, so when you pull in the driveway, you're not really gonna see the pond. Because when this is all landscape, there'll be tons of screening here, there'll be more plantings. It's gonna be a very private garden. So let's give a taste of what's to come when you pull in the driveway, and that starts with the spheres. We've got 3 of the Aquascape Stack Slate spheres up there. We kind of elevated things with a lot of the big boulder outcroppings, again, tying in that theme all the way down to the bottom. Falling out of that pooling area where the spheres are, we've got what only can be described as a monolithic rock, when in reality you're talking like 3 to 5 rocks that make it up. But the way those Texas sandstone boulders fit together and the character they have, it looks like one gigantic ledge. I've spent some time hiking the streams and rivers down here, and it looks exactly like that. Now, the bridge going into the front door, this was like a whole design change that we did before we started phase 2. We were talking about bringing the spheres over, like, okay, so if we do that, how are we gonna get to the front door? Let's build a bridge. I think it's the coolest thing ever. We found those 8x8 timbers behind the barn. Matt said they've been laying there for about 12 years. I was like, Matt, let's make these into the bridge. And what's so cool about Matt is he's like, okay, let's go with it. He didn't fully understand what we were going to do, but he was more than willing to go along for the ride. And that was so liberating, like having no brakes on this job and letting us run with it. You don't get that all that often because budget definitely comes into play, right? Well, here we had the opportunity. Matt was super gracious. He actually built the bridge along with Manuel, who does a lot of the work here with him. Those guys sanded all those 8x8s down. They actually drilled through and used threaded rod to bolt the entire structure together in 3 separate areas. And then we built the block work to actually set the bridge on. Then Manuel finished it off with some more of the flagging going up to the front door. We put in some more of those big steppers going up to meet the bridge. And it's just a seamless transition from the driveway up to the front door. And it makes you excited to come home because you're walking like, it's almost like walking over a drawbridge into your castle. I just absolutely love it. The stacked slate urn fountainscape, that is the statement piece. So when you're pulling in, you got the circular driveway, and right in front of you, you've got this huge backdrop of boulders with those beautiful bubbling urns right in front of them. At night, it looks absolutely amazing. I love streams, I do, and this one has got to be one of my favorites. Brian and I worked on really thinking about how you see this from down at the barn as well as up at the house. What's so cool for me is Matt sends me pictures all the time of his daughter out here catching toads with her friends. They'll be out here in the middle of the night with flashlights, like going to find these frogs. They love having the fish in there. They've actually been in the pond. There is so much to do out here.
We had a big earth pond that we dug when we built the house. We actually moved it, and it was never something we ever interacted with. It was just sitting out there, water with a fence around it and no fish. But like a lot of people now during COVID, we're home all the time, and my wife and I would be out front with the dogs every morning, spending a couple of hours running around the yard doing different stuff. And I just looked at her and said, I'm sick of the pond. It doesn't do anything. I'm filling it in, and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to build to replace it. And I started watching Aquascape, which led to your videos, which took me down the rabbit hole of the YouTube videos. And I said, hey, I can do this. I can figure it out. So I started taking Aquascape Academy online. Started buying boulders, as all the ones you saw out here when you came out. I just started buying, I'd go to all the rock yards in the area and buy the biggest boulders, the coolest boulders I could find that had stuff on them or had different lips to them or just weren't big square or round boulders. And then as I got further down into it, I watched more of your videos, more of Brian's videos. I started to go, yeah, I could really screw this up. Spend a lot of money that I have to then call Jack to fix. So it became obvious that it was going to be way over my head. We had talked for years about redoing the barn, and it was kind of one of those things where I wanted to do it as an office, but we never really looked at the opportunity to do it. We didn't have a time come up to do it. And when we started talking about what was going to go on out here, I looked at how much of the access was going to get cut off to the barn, and I said, oh crap, if I'm going to redo it and get all of this stuff in, I got to do it now before the pond's here. Because, I mean, we had steel beams in this barn that are 26 foot long that we had to, you know, crane in. And we couldn't do that with all of this here. And so it became a necessity to get it finished, and now it's turned out great. I mean, it's the place where I go in the mornings when I wake up. I come down with the dogs to feed the fish, and I sit on the porch even though it's not done, and I just sit here and kind of gel out for an hour in the mornings while the dogs are out playing in the yard, my wife's wandering around, and we just relax, and I don't have to mess with it. I see a lot more of me sitting out here taking video calls and doing work from up here. Our backyard relative to the lot is small, and we don't spend, the pool's back there, but we don't spend a ton of time back there. We actually spend more time out in the front yard with the dogs, running around playing, especially now that we've redone all the grass and put in all the hills and everything. And we're out here more than we are in the pool. So it just made sense to, and I needed to landscape it, right? I told you, Jack, that over the last 10 years, we've been trying to figure out what to do in the front yard to landscape. And I've been trying to build around what was here, and I finally just decided to blow it all up and just do whatever. And that's what started the fire pit area, digging that out, and then the pond, and then y'all came up with the stream, because I hadn't thought of the stream and the fountainscapes. I was just looking for a pond with some waterfalls and stuff. So it really has kind of changed the whole front yard to be kind of at the end of the day, it'll be a real big garden.
I mean, what else is there to say? This is something I will never forget. What an amazing life experience.